Man, can you believe? The once mighty iPhone is finally in big trouble. I didn't know that situation. Just before Apple's iPhone 13 launch, the Apple that always stood on top just rolled over like this. You may not know this, but it wasn't that long that Apple has made a formal announcement to that effect, is that people will no longer to be forced to pay Apple tax. My brother's gonna ask right now, wait, that's a big deal for Apple. And what the hell does Apple say about this? What does it have to do with us ordinary people? Don't worry, let's take a good look at the Apple incident, the big logic behind it. First of all, the Apple tax is actually very simple. It doesn't matter who you are as long as you buy things Apple system. Then Apple will force it. You have to pay through his Apple Store, and every single payment, Apple will charge more than 30%. This is the famous Apple tax. That's why air tickets are always a little more expensive when you use your iPhone. How arrogant Apple is with this fee. In 2020, Apple already earns a hefty fee income, a staggering $64 billion. What is this concept? Huawei's net profit last year was less than $1.4 billion. Xiaomi is only about 2 billion bigger than Apple. The money from brokerage fees every year is enough, crushing all the cell phone giants in the country. The brother immediately asked the good guy, what is the basis of this Apple? He collects so much money from us every year that he can't see through it. Here's a look at how Apple is the biggest mobile phone company in the world. Apple's iOS system has more than a billion users worldwide. You developers want to make money on billion users. You have to stick to the 30% handling fee rule, or fees will go higher. Then who's gonna pay for that? Conscience of such developers shoulder their own, or the wool would have to come out of the sheep. Most people can't afford to bite the bullet, but rabbits bite people when they're desperate. Dozens of companies have been negotiating lawsuits with Apple over the years and demand a reduction in Apple tax. Some small companies have been formed anti-Apple alliances. An appeal was filed against Apple. But the attitude of Apple is called a high arrogance. There's no lawyer for anyone to negotiate. I have plenty of apples. Even if we threaten to access such a huge amount of software, negotiating with Apple won't do you any good. In 2017, Apple announces rewards via virtual currency and take a 30% cut. That means whether pay for WeChat articles or give a tip to the live anchors. For as long as you use Apple mobile phone, Apple taxes you. This rule leaves developers with one of two options. Turn off the tipping function or pay the Apple tax. WeChat, however, is suddenly not happy. I have more WeChat users than you and you're making me pay duty. You're kidding. In a fit of anger, WeChat entered Apple's recharge channel, even turned off the appreciation function in protest. The two sides are deadlocked. No compromise was reached until June 2018. Why does WeChat dare to do this? That's because it was WeChat month and that time, and the number of live users is as high as 900 million. That's beyond the reach of Apple. And Chinese users bought Apple and Huawei. Xiaomi's Oppo, Vivo, but without WeChat, there really is no substitute for the time being. But other platforms don't have that kind of muscle, like Shiho Momo. A reward like this is their main profit. They can't be like that. Tencent, a giant company, changed its rules and ways to get rich. My brother asked again, since there is so much money in it. His Apple is so arrogant again. Why is he canceling Apple now when Apple is comfortable collecting Apple tax? The reason is that its unique ecosystem has attracted a large number of loyal users, but now Apple is losing users. It is well known that China is the world's largest consumer market, almost contributed one half of Apple's revenue. But in 2015, Apple has been on the decline in China. That year, Apple released the iPhone 6s, but didn't cause much snow in the market. And it was in this year that local Chinese brands Xiaomi, Huawei, Oppo, Vivo is coming to the fore. There was a siege of apples. In the second quarter of 2017, China's domestic mobile phone brands are market-oriented in China. That's 87%. Apple slipped to 5th place. Subsequent year in 2018, Apple's share of the global market dropped to 3rd place. And it has dropped to the 4th place this year. From price to innovation ability, from shipment to competitiveness, Apple is going downhill, and with domestic mobile phone brands, rise to perfection of the industrial chain. Cracks are already appearing in the technological barriers that Apple has built. Consumers also have more options, and on the other hand, it is because Apple was really hurt by the antitrust case. Since last year, Apple first went through a class action lawsuits from small developers, followed by antitrust crackdowns from European Union and Russia. Apple is under pressure to make an annual income. Small developers for less than $1 million, a discount rate of 15%. But I didn't expect it this year. The anti-monopoly punch has been even harder. US developers have filed a class action lawsuit against Apple. The South Korean government has set up a legal platform to terminate the case. The compulsory collection of protection fees was under siege by many parties. Apple has finally made a big compromise. The least costly consequence are chosen, and that is to maintain the status quo as much as possible. Third-party payments channels shall be opened, and make Apple tax no longer mandatory. And finally, I want to end with a story that took place over 100 years ago in America. As early 20th century, Standard Oil of the United States has a monopoly of the global oil industry. There are more people in negative equity than the top 10 richest people in the world combined. He used his monopoly position to control the world's production activities. Numerous small and medium-sized enterprises were excluded from the suppression. The broad masses of consumers suffer from high monopoly prices. The people are living in dire straits. Until the Roosevelt administration implemented a rigorous antitrust policy, it took 20 years to break up Standard Oil, and has contributed to the true rise of the United States. The United States has experienced 3 anti-monopoly waves, despite the controversy. There is one thing that is beyond question, that is to put the shackles on these monopolies. The United States has ushered in wave after wave of industrial innovation. More innovative businesses have grown out of the corpses of the giants. Now the antitrust knife is on Apple's head. So who's going to follow Reuters? Look through the big picture. Brother, it's you.